Alright guys, this video is just going to be about Mora. What we're looking here is the 1 hour on the top left, 2 hour on the top right, 3 hour on the bottom left, and 4 hour on the bottom right. I mentioned that I had never seen the synchrony of the ADL lines on all time frames before. And what's given me a lot of confidence about this is what I'm about to show you. Now, we have to acknowledge, first and foremost, the ADL line went up drastically here, but the price still dropped, 24%. So if it's a flash crash and they do this crashing overnight, they can still discount the prices, and this will never be invalidated, right? Like if we gap down and then there's a huge buy button, and then they get, and they buy so many shares that they run it up to here, they can even sell a couple candles and it still never break this. All this is a representation of how many shares they want to keep as a baseline. Okay. Something that's given me a bias though is there is essentially 3 main red lines here that you can see. And each of these red lines never made it to the purple 4-hour demand zone. It only made it to this area. And you can see that they essentially hit support in their own support realm, right? Well, if we look on the chart, what this actually was showing is since it never made it to the baseline accumulation that they wanted to maintain, they use it to ramp price up and sell shares at a higher price, eventually driving the price down. And they kept doing this until they sold it off and created a bottom in these demand zones. And when they did this, and it actually curved in the purple demand zone, that marked the actual bottom of a major move, right? That marked the bottom of this move. Then sold off, and then eventually this one, we made a new low, right? So none of these technically there was no point in buying until we got down here. Same thing with these, right? You can even look over here, right? Even over here. This is when the accumulation finally broke up through it, but it broke through, and then we got that major rally, right? 130% move. The crazy thing is, right, you can see the synchrony also in the other ADL lines, right? So here, I don't know why that deleted, but here, this bottom was never on the ascending support. Here we are, this is ascending support, right, which marked a better move. Here too. This one wasn't at the ascending support. This one wasn't at the ascending support. You can see it over here. You can see it pretty much everywhere. And what was that? That was the lower high, right, which ended up being the C wave. So what this is making me say is it's possible that this is actually representing that there isn't another major C wave unless there was a gap down sequence where it's like a crazy market crash. But up to this point, if the market was performing or does perform in a normal behavior, I would think that this is saying that this is a completed C wave, right? Something else to look at in this is the correlation here, right? Kind of looks like it. And if we were to look at this, this looks like a, that's a wave 1. And then you have what? You have an ABC, ABC. This could be an ABC, but that would have to break this. And if it broke it, then we'd know. We would for sure know. But there's a possibility that, A, B, C, B, C, whatever. It's a possibility that this is representing such a true bottom. Ascending support here, right? Ascending support here. It's just ascending support. Well, no, not there. Where is it? Yeah. It's just, there's a lot of confluence with these ADL lines, but it's not to say it can't go lower as they still shares. It's just letting us know that that is a baseline. And what I would think is if this is the baseline, then that's a high probability that, we're not too far away from the bottom. It's just going to be hard to time the bottom, which is why I'm really worried about short dated contracts now. Usually this type of breaking structure matters. Okay, so that's the ADL lines. Let me show you a couple other things. Another one would be the 15-minute ADL line. This is kind of interesting. Okay, so let me delete these. As you can see, there was a falling wedge here, right? Falling wedge into demand, right? And now we have a falling wedge into demand. Well, I don't know about you, but to me, this looks like head and shoulders. Pretty clean too. That's a pretty clean head and shoulders, right? Let's actually do this so it's not so. That's a pretty clean head and shoulders with a descending wedge breakout. Look what we see here, right? This is looking to be this too. So these little flats is one day into the next. So this is going to become a flat, right? And essentially this is going to look like this going into tomorrow. This is why I said I'm going to buy whatever happens tomorrow. Because if this opens up tomorrow, but then we gap down, well, they're going to press buy. If they press buy and it looks anything like this, we could rally for 3 days. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5-wave structure, 3 days, right? That could happen all the way into the week, which is why I'm going to buy heavy tomorrow, because I follow chart history until it disproves itself. That looks like this. Can we agree? This looks like this while we are looking like this everywhere, right? This is the bottom. This has been the bottom. This has been the bottom. We are at a bottom, right? So we closed in supply, right? And this is what I'm looking at. We closed in supply. So realistically, I think it might look something like this. And either this is an ABC wave or it's going to be, a leading diagonal where this is wave 1, right? And then it's going to be more choppiness like that, right? That could be it. But what I do know is what I'm currently looking at, which is that looks a lot like that. By the way, that looks like a pretty massive head and shoulders, right? Well, if you look from right here. So you can like cut head and shoulders out when it's a downtrend, it doesn't matter. As long as the left pit head and the right pit matter. So if it looks like that, you can literally just pretty much do. And did that play out? Sure did. So now we have this multi-day where we couldn't get a breather. Now this is also showing a change in trend if we break above this. If we gap down and we buy this, that means now we're finally breaking a pivot of accumulation, right? This has been selling shares. Now they're buying more shares than the previous pivot, which means higher highs. So I think this is a really high probability setup. I don't know what happens tomorrow, but this could happen, right? So, I mean, in a perfect world, it would literally look like that, where they just don't stop the whole day, right? Like, let's see what that looks like as far as price action. Yeah, look at that. That would be amazing. That was our first rally. That was our first rally, a 40% rally. How crazy would that be if that's what happened? You know, that would be nuts if they did that. It can happen. Chart history looks pretty similar, you know? So there's that. What else do I want to say? Okay, yeah, let me show you this. This is pretty crazy. You can see that this, like I mentioned that this was controlled selling and it seemed off, right? Well, the reason it seemed off and it's controlled selling, it's the same concept here as it's the same concept here as literally 2023. What was the top in 2023? July 13th to 17th. You know, what was that exact last day? 14th on a Friday. So, you know, 17th is already on that Monday. When was our top? July 17th, right? Literally. Same concept too. Look at this. It was a rising. Wait, what am I doing? There we go. Sorry. Need to make it look prettier for you guys. So it was rising, right? Look above, fell, nosedive. Look above, fell, nosedive, right? This looks pretty fucking accurate. We break below, break under the ascending support, back test, lower low. Break under ascending support, back test, lower low, right? This is crazy, right? This is absolutely crazy. Could this be what happens? I'm not entirely sure. It could, right? That would make sense with the 15-minute, right? That would be nuts if it was the case, but that would make sense with the 15-minute. But the other thing to take into consideration is this ended up being a rounding bottom that took till October, right? Now, given this drop looks pretty similar to that, this looks like an ABC, this looks like an ABC. But this drop took till October, you know, and the time frame of the top was within, you know, 1 day from a Friday to a Monday, you know, one trading day from the top. So that's something to take into consideration too, and not be so sure on. But this looks very similar. So this is my thought process with, you know, the flash crash or continued selling. Like if it was to take the route of this, right, and it take us till first week, second week of October, then we could be under $10 by then. So essentially, what I'm thinking is, this has to essentially, we can't really make a lower low. You know, if we break through this lower low, there's nothing to hold us. There's nothing to hold us. If none of this could hold us, this isn't holding us, right? Right? If none of that, if all of that consolidation couldn't hold us, right? Look at this. Now we're hitting resistance. If that couldn't hold us, look where the next spot is. $10, right? Look at that. That's the difference. If this can't hold us, that's a gap of volume until we get to $10. So that's something that we have to take into consideration. It's so iffy. Like I believe a move is coming based on the ADL line. As long as those ADL lines hold, I believe a strong fucking move is coming. It's just what kind of fuckery are they going to hit us with, right? Like if they did this in such a short time, where it was a look above, look below, look above and fell, look below and fell, and then ripped it with that drastic of a move, that would be the biggest bullshit I've ever seen in my life, right? And you know, I thought about this recently, that I was like, I wonder if they would do that, right? A failed break above, a failed break below, and then a fucking rip. And this is what we initially and originally were going to do. But what if they do it on a larger scale? You know, massive volatile, failed break above, failed break below, rip it. That could be some of the biggest bullshit I've ever seen in my life, but it's possible. Anyways, just some thoughts. I'm gonna buy the ADL, the drop tomorrow if there is a drop, you know. And yeah,